So today we're going to be solving some more two-step equations. So the first two-step equation we're going to look at is negative 3x plus 5 is equal to 2. So remember, we're always going to add or subtract first, then multiply or divide. So what we want to do here is to look at, we have plus 5, so we want to subtract 5 from both sides. Then what we're going to be left with on this side is negative 3x, which is equal to, well, 2 minus 5 is a negative 3. Then we're going to see that this is multiplication, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. And so x is equal to 1, because negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1. Then we're going to have to do a check, so we're going to start with our original equation. So negative 3x plus 5 is equal to 2. We're going to substitute in for x. Then we're going to do that multiplication because we're following PEMDAS, so we get negative 3 plus 5 is equal to 2, and add those up, 2 is equal to 2. Remember, at any time in this, you can pause it if you need it to go a little bit slower to write things down. So on this next one, we have negative x over 3. Remember, this negative could go to the 3 or to the x. In this case, it's going to be more helpful if it goes to the 3 for us. Okay, but before we even handle that, we're going to have to get rid of this plus 5. So the opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5, just like on the last problem. Then we're going to have x over, I would put that negative with that 3, and that's going to be equal to 4. Then to get rid of this divided by negative 3, I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative 3. And so x is going to be equal to negative 12. Then we're going to do a check. So here's where it might get a little bit confusing, but if you write down the original equation first, it should help you out. So negative, we're going to substitute in for an x, a negative 12. So we have a negative 12 over 3. Or if your 3 is down here, or if your negative's down here with your 3, then that's also really helpful. So 12 divided by 3 is 4, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So positive 4 plus 5 is equal to 9, so 9 is equal to 9. On the next one, we have some fractions that we have to deal with. So we still want to add or subtract first. So we want to get rid of this first, because the only way to get rid of this 4 is through division. So we want to subtract 2/5 from both sides. And so on the left side, we're going to have 4x. And on the right side, well, we're going to have to do negative 6/5 minus 2/5. But remember, it's the same as adding. Okay, so it's like adding two negatives. So that's going to be negative 8/5. Now, you can just leave it like that. That's totally fine for now. Okay, and then we're going to divide both sides by 4. Let me see, divided by 4. And so then you're actually going to need to do that division. So negative 8/5. Remember, if we divide it by 4, it's like 4 over 1. So times the reciprocal, 1 over 4. We could do some cross canceling. That's a 2, that's a 1. So x is equal to, well, 2 times 1 is 2, and 5 times 1 is 5. And a negative times a positive is a negative. So it's negative 2/5. So then we're going to check that by starting with the original equation. And substituting in here. So I might change this to 4 over 1 times negative 2/5. That might help me out. And so what we're going to get here is 2/5 plus negative 8/5 equal to negative 6/5. A positive 2 and a negative 8 makes a negative 6/5 equals negative 6/5. All right, on the last one, again, we have some fractions to deal with. So I'm going to add a half to both sides first, because we're trying to get rid of that minus a half. So I have x over 8 is equal to, well, 7 plus 1 is 8 over 2. Now that can be simplified, and I would simplify that to 4. So then what we're going to have to do is we have 8 divided by x. We want to multiply both sides by 8. And so x is equal to 4 times 8, which is 32. Then we are going to start with our original equation. We're going to substitute in 32, so 32 over 8 minus a half is equal to 7 over 2. Do that division first, and so I'm going to say that that's 4 minus a half is equal to 7/2. Now, that may not have been the easiest way to do it because now we have to get common denominators. So what you could have done is simplified this until you ended up with, well, if I divide that by 4, divide that by 4, that's going to give me 2 on the bottom, and then on the top I'm going to have 16. Is that right? No, sorry. Top I'm going to have 8, because 32 divided by 4 is 8. So then I can do that subtraction here, and so 8 minus 1 is 7, so 7 over 2 is equal to 7 over 2. So these are pretty much the same as what you did last class. The only difference is that you're going to have some more fractions or decimals in there, but remember you are allowed to use a calculator, and please show all of your steps and all of your checks on a separate sheet of paper.